You guys have asked, and I'm here to answer. Why are we choosing the PAL reading program, Primary Arts of Language from IEW this year, instead of going with one of the other reading programs that we have tried in the past? Well, today I'm going to give you my 3 reasons why we are doing it. So let's get started. The first reason is because it is a comprehensive language arts curriculum. As you guys know, there are a lot of pieces when it comes to language arts, and it can be really hard to piece that together. I do piece that together for many of my older kids, so it's not that I mind that extra work, but especially in that kindergarten to 2nd grade age group, this is a time where you probably don't have enough to do an entire separate spelling curriculum or entire separate grammar curriculum oftentimes. And having one curriculum that encompasses all of it allows you to just sprinkle in those pieces of information. The curriculum is infused with poetry. It has little prompts when appropriate for when to add certain grammar things, how we punctuate, or when we capitalize things, using the journaling exercises that you will do with your child, whether it is that they dictate it to you and you write it down, or maybe you write something and they copy it depending on their age level. There's lots of ways to just build in a lot of natural learning, but they write it down for you and share with you when to introduce certain things, because that's not something that many of us think of naturally on our own. There's also this story chart, which I absolutely love. This story chart asks your kids important questions to help them understand the plot, the sequence, the setting, the characters, and all of the things when it comes to a story, so that when they are ready to start getting into the composition phase, they will understand the elements of a story very, very well. I've loved seeing my kindergartner applying this not only to every picture book that we read, but also to movies that we watch. The second reason I decided to go this route is that it is very friendly or very helpful for those who may or do have reading difficulties. So if you guys do not know, my 4 oldest kids all have reading challenges. Either they were very slow or late to learn reading, or they had dyslexia on a wide range. We have ones that were mildly dyslexic to severely dyslexic, and it's been a struggle. I have no idea if my youngest 2 are going to have struggles in reading, but I wanted to pick a program that could really help them. And some of the things that I have seen by trying over half a dozen reading curriculums has been the beauties, the strengths, what works with one curriculum and what doesn't with another. I like the fact that this included a lot of those stronger elements for those kids who struggle. One of those elements being the phonetic farm. So with the phonetic farm, this is a folder that your child will go through on a daily basis that will introduce them to different phonics rules and help connect visuals with the actual sounds to remind them of what those phonics rules are. So for instance, you're going to see the OR. The OR is right next to the horse, and this is going to help your child remember that sound. The ER is on the farm, and the IR is on the bird. These visuals are the same kinds of methods that are taught in the Diana Craft Right Brain reading program that my oldest son uses, and those visuals are the only thing that has really connected for him and helped those phonics rules stick. So I don't know whether my children will struggle with dyslexia or not, but I do know that if they do, this is going to be a great way to ground them and give them great tools for reading. Another aspect that makes it perfect for your children who may have difficulty with reading is that there is tons of review. For a typical student, they are going to need 4 to 14 repetitions of a word or a concept in order for it to stick. For a child with dyslexia or other learning disabilities, this can be closer to 40 to 200 repetitions or more, which means there needs to be lots of ways to review. This curriculum is heavily based on games. They have these great file folder games that you are going to play with your child to review all the concepts, whether it's learning your initial sounds, learning those phonics rules, learning how to read certain things. And with that, I also love the fact that it incorporates multiple kids. So I do have 2 kids that are going to be using this program. One who's using it now, one that will start using it in the fall. And so because there are a lot of games played, there's a lot of opportunities for me to work on that repetition and to work on those games together, even though they'll be at 2 separate points in the curriculum. I also love the letter story. So every single letter has its own letter story, and you teach your kids how to write and how to read those sounds based on these letter stories. I have also incorporated little hand motions or reminders for my kids. Some were built in from the curriculum, some are ones that my daughter has just come up with, and it really helps because what I found with a lot of my kids who struggle with reading is that they will forget letter sounds fairly regularly, even though we've gone over it hundreds and hundreds of times. They'll kind of of look up to me for a prompt. But if I give them the prompt, they start relying too heavily on me. So I will use visual prompts. So for instance, the letter A is a little girl with a pigtail, and the boys in school keep pulling on her pigtail, and it makes her say, ah! And so when my daughter gets to a word and she starts to second guess what that letter is, she'll look at me and I'll go, and she'll go, ah! I say, yes, exactly. Or it's like, for the eye, because the eye is crying and he has his little tears going down his face. So I'll just look at her and go, and she'll know exactly what to do. These kinds of multi-sensory approaches, giving them visuals, giving them hand motions, giving them these stories, it all works as glue to connect these things into their brain. But that brings us to the third reason. And this one is probably going to shock you. The third reason, I'm bored. I'm a homeschool mom who's already homeschooled 4 kids using various different programs, and I wanted something new and different. And I know that sounds crazy because for many of you, you're going to think this has been something you've done before. It's tried and true. Why would you change? But sometimes as moms, we get tired of doing the exact same curriculum back to back to back to back for years and years and years. And there's nothing wrong with just mixing it up every once in a while. Yes, I know if it's not broken, don't fix it. But sometimes we got to mix it up, especially if you're like me and you're a homeschool mom with ADHD. It can be, you need something to sort of freshen it up. And this does. It also allows me an opportunity to have some really quality time with my little girls. They are my babies, and they are my last, at least that I know of. And because of that, I want to cherish that time with them. It can be really easy as my older kids get closer to high school to just kind of rush them through schoolwork as quickly as possible so that I can focus on getting the older ones settled for going out into the real world. But I don't want to sacrifice that sweet time with them that I won't get back just because of the older kids. This does allow me to set aside that time, having laughter over these games and getting to go through these hands-on experiences with them, teaching them reading, writing, all of the language arts things, while still getting to have enough time to help the older ones. But you also should know that unlike programs like All About Reading, this is not as open and go. And these lessons are not particularly short, and that's okay. For us and for our family, I do a lesson with my kindergartner. She's kind of at the end of her kindergarten year, and we just started it, and she'll be going into her first grade year. We do a lesson in about 2 to 3 days typically, and that has worked out beautifully. This is something that does need to be self-paced to your child, and for some parents, they don't want to have to think about that. They just want to open it up and say, here's the beginning of the lesson, the end of the lesson, and that's okay. But if that's the case, this is probably not the best fit for you. There are a lot of moving pieces to this curriculum, and it can take a second to wrap your head around it. But once you do, I feel like you're gonna fall in love with it. Just stick through it, keep going. Be sure to check out the video that I did here, talking to you more about how to organize the curriculum and how you can sort of set yourself up for success, and subscribe because I will have more videos coming out about the PAL program. I want to share more with you guys as we're utilizing it and help you guys make the most of this program.